A new era is upon us. Pulse has taken the world by storm as the leading Web3 social media. Beyond current features like casting, tipping, inscription trading, and earning, it's now elevating to the next level, on-chain.
Soil, a fully regulated, seamless link between traditional finance and the digital crypto world, offering secure returns fully backed by tangible, real-world assets.
The Credify testnet is live, so head on over to demo.credify.finance to see how you can effortlessly experiment with autonomous earning, NFT corporate bonds, Credi and X-Credi utilities, and module.
Good afternoon, everyone. BC Bridgefield here, coming to you live from London. It's just gone 1 minute past midday, making it 1 minute past 1100 UTC. A big shout out to everybody joining the stream live today, as well as everybody that's watching this on recording. Please do let me know if you've got me okay with the audio and with the visuals. Really, really good to see so many people coming in. Craigie boy, great to have you here as well. Gio, Nick, Erica, everybody else that's kind of streaming in on the chat. Got lots and lots of people joining us from all over the web. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Well, today is the day that we were really kind of hoping for when we were looking at this last week. For anybody that maybe I had the pleasure of doing the Bitcoin report on a Thursday for our fam over at the Bird Nest, and was saying last night about how it felt like this was just getting ready to pump. And I'm going to run through today. We're going to start as to why I felt that, and feeling is not really the true thing, is that we're just using analysis based on what we can see on the chart. So we're going to cover that today, answer any questions you might have, but more importantly, we're going to lay out our plan for the week ahead. Thank you very much, everyone, for the confirmation. Just Pit, my friend, hello, great to have you here. Simon, as well as everyone else. So let's kind of start with where we are here. Now, you're just going to have to forgive the messy chart for a moment. Basically kind of adding all the bits on, taking them away, etc. Very simply, we've got range high, we've got our mid-range, and we've got our range low, right? So let's make that a nice dotted line as well, so that kind of stands out. This has been the range that we've been looking at, okay? This thick red line down here, for me, was a key low that we were looking to sweep. Now, getting back within this level, this is a really key support resistance level on the daily, okay? So we're going to take a look at that at a moment as well. This BTC, hello mate, unfortunately not the super talented Adrian with you today, but you had BC Richfield with you, so hopefully I will not disappoint. Now, okay, where are we? What's going on? So key gaps that we've been watching for in this market, this gap down here, this large bullish gap, all right, between that candle's wick low and that candle's wick high. These are areas of inefficiency where order pairing failed to happen. Basically, the buying power here, the market was pumping so much, there was just basically only buy orders in here. So the market likes to revisit these areas to rebalance them, okay? We did that once, had a beautiful strong reaction, which is what allowed us to get long the target as relative equal highs when we come back in this direction. So, that's giving us a clue here what we're starting to kind of pump and reach towards. Now, one of the key things here that is providing the draw on liquidity is this bearish gap, okay? So what's happened? Price has swept out liquidity below this low. Now, when it does that, very, very often likes to then rebalance a fair value gap, all right, which is this. And we can see this is what's kind of drawing price higher at the moment. Now, these are, gray on my charts. I will change them, as we go on the lower time frames, just to give you guys some context of which is bullish and which is bearish. Thank you, BCC. You are an absolute star. I appreciate that, my friend. So now as we look at this here on the daily, we can really see how this range started to shape out here. This midline doing a really immense job. Now, also, the other thing is that with ranges like this, or with any range, right, and then looking to split, especially when you're talking about a very high time frame range like this, your daily, your weekly, etc., then looking to kind of split and break this down into smaller ranges beyond it. And we can see again that when we kind of take this as an individual, say our upper range, and this is our lower range, so two different range entities, we can see the key role that the midline has played here as well. I mean, look at this beautiful level that we've had, right? Price came into this area here, closed below it, range lows, closed above it, mid-range, of the larger range, or range high of the lower range, if that makes sense. So we can see price has been behaving in a very structured manner. Now, ultimately, what we were looking at down here was, is this a deviation of our range lows? All right, so if I just get rid of all of these drawings at the moment, right, and we just focus on the area here, we can see how price came underneath this low, right? Now, range low slightly higher up, yeah, but we can see, look, with ranges, if these things are showing us weak breaking down underneath them, then the last thing we expect the price to do is climb back inside them, all right? So when we get that situation here and we see this low here respected, now we kind of get back above this level. Look at what happens when price shows you strength above these key levels, right? This low here was significant, long, abnormally long wick. We can see an immense amount of buying pressure stepping in here as the market recovers to the upside, and it's reacting from this bullish gap. All really key features. Now, look at what happens when price engages with this level here. See the long wicks. See how price just gets bought up. It doesn't convince you that this thing wants to go lower, right? However, what happens here, I'm going to draw this line across a minute so you guys can see this clearly and just make it solid, right? Look at what happens when we revisit this line again, and also this low. See the strong close, right? You'll hear me use that term, strong close. What do I mean by it? Well, it means a big bodied candle. The volume of the trading is in the body. So that's what I'm most interested in here, right? This close below this level, look how different it is to the reaction that we saw here. Big body candle, yes, but big wick to the downside, and nothing convincing that this was really ready to take on lower prices. Now, this one, however, big close below, you know, almost kind of 40% of the candle closed below here. We actually left this level intact, right, which was this low. Then look what happened on the next day. A huge sweep down here into those, clearing out liquidity and also rebalancing the inefficiencies, which are these gaps here. So why is that significant? And let me just move this back a second, make it a dotted line so we can see that it's swept. Well, quite simply, again, look what happens when price engaged this low. Look at the long downside wick. Didn't really give us an indication that it was willing to move, right? Now, this was a bit of a sneaky move here because it came back up into our bearish gap here. At the time, this would have been red, or you would have seen it on my charts as grey. When we closed above it here yesterday, I'm going to go on to this in a moment. This is what said to us, okay, this market's really, really getting ready to rip now, okay? So, just to kind of finalize, just to finish off where we are down here, as we've come into this level, price came back up into this bearish gap here and we saw a rejection. Now, the really, really interesting thing here is the expectation then is for price to reach down for this low, all right? So then when we saw this kind of move higher and then we invalidated this area, as soon as we got this close above here, right, what did that do? Well, it did a couple of different things. It confirmed this as an order block. All right, why did it do that? Because that's a down close candle here. Also, these two down close candles, but I confirm I prefer using this one. It's a larger bodied candle, but also these two candles are within the range of this one, right? So when we closed above this here, which was Saturday, Sunday, we were expecting upside. We got that beautiful Sunday pump. Now, the key thing here is that when we closed above this in this bearish gap here, look, price came up, couldn't close above it, couldn't close above it. This area was offering resistance since the end of last week, right? Not last week, the week before. We finally got this nice close above. We've been talking about it a lot. When we got that close above, so the close of that candle, the close of Sunday's candle, it made this an inversion fair value gap here, meaning that our target now becomes the next key liquidity, which is up here at 63,797, right? There's one small area here that I am kind of looking at as well. I'd love to see a close above, which is this, because this is a balanced price range, right? Bullish gap here closed through with the bearish gap, just basically showing immediate disrespect to this. This area would have been an expectation for this to present itself as strong resistance. If this candle closes today above this and we fail to take out this higher, my expectation then tomorrow is for price to pull back a little bit and then for us to make an attack on this level. But look, when you step into a buy program here, so what does that mean? Well, if we look at the market structure here, we've come down, we've set this low, lower high, right? Lower low, lower high, higher low. Now we're setting a higher high, right? Now, yes, people will argue this is microstructure, it's not clear and obvious, etc. You do you, I'll do me. The key thing that I'm looking for here is if we're in a sell program, I'm looking for market structure to be respected, and we have now shifted or even broken market structure to the upside. So what does that mean? Well, when price is showing us strength, then we want to be on the right side of the trend, right? We want to align ourselves with that. the trend is our friend until the end, right? Really, really cheesy statement, but incredibly true. So when we got the close above, we said today, look, we're looking to target longs. And also, look, we've got gaps on this side of the market. And I did speak to you about the inversion gap over here as well that's turned into a balanced price range. However, now we've stepped into this bullish state of delivery, I'm worrying less about what's on this side in terms of inefficiencies and focusing more on saying, okay, look, if I was one of the really smart people down here, yeah, and not to kind of blow our own trumpet, but over at TBN, there's been some great long calls going out recently, not just obviously on Bitcoin, but things like PopCap, which is up, I think, about 60 or 70% at the moment. The reason is because, you know, we're looking at factors like this, and now we're saying to ourselves, okay, well, where do we want to look to sell this back to the market, right? We want to buy at a lower price and sell it at a higher price. Where are those willing buyers? Well, we know that we've got willing buyers above here, above this high. Why? Because when people shorted this move here, that's the natural place for them to put their stop losses. All right. So maybe they're expecting the market to go lower. Now, what happens is when price triggers those stop losses above here, it will cause a cascade effect whereby they turn into market buy orders, right? Floods the market with buy orders, meaning that if you want to short this market, yeah, this is actually a really good place to do it, right? Not wanting to be negative, but there's pre-made liquidity up there. You've got predefined risk. And basically, you can fill some massive, massive orders with people's stop losses that are triggering here, breakout traders that are triggering as well. And they're the liquidity games that we're aligning ourselves with, okay? So anyway, that's the kind of theory behind where we are. So where does it leave us today? So I want to drop this down now onto a 4-hour chart. So last night in the Bitcoin report, the highlight that we're kind of drawing ourselves to is this, right? We had these gaps down here. So we've got this gap here. You're going to do these ones in green, guys, just so that they really stand out, all right? So bullish gap here, and actually I say really stand out. Let me just make that a bit clearer. There we go. And this nice bullish slither of a gap here, right? So the idea is when we're in a buy program, when we're looking, you know, when the market's bullish, we can clearly see here that it is. We had this all corrective move here, but higher high, higher low, and then price really rocketing away. So what we're looking for in that respect is we're just looking for these green fair value gaps, bullish fair value gaps to support price, right? If price, as I said yesterday, had closed below this one, then we seek support from this one. If it closes below this one, then all of a sudden we have all the liquidity resting below all these beautiful untapped lows down here, okay, all the way down to this one. They provide a really, really good liquidity target for anybody that studied ICT, for example. They will know it as low resistance liquidity. Just means that basically you're just getting more and more fear downside the more you keep taking out those lows. So we don't need to worry ourselves about that at the moment because we're simply not down there. What happened was price reacted at our fair value gap down here. Now, you know, the major pump here happened late last night and through Asia, which we're going to take a look at. But quite simply at the moment, what's the plan? Well, look, if that's the plan, we don't want to complicate things. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, as we say here in the UK. Look, as long as we hold this bullish gap here, right, then my expectation is for price to rebalance this and make an attack on the liquidity up there. What would change my mind on that would be if price closed below this. Yeah, so if we get a candle, 4-hour candle closed below it, obviously it won't be that wonky. Right, 4-hour candle closed below. Then I'm looking for price to come down, retest this fair value gap here. We do have another one above it here, but ultimately the draw is down. So on an intraday basis, we've got a really, really clear bias. Hold this, more upside, close below it. We look for it to rebalance this inefficiency first and ultimately then start reaching for some of these swing lows, all right? Really nice and simple. How could we have kind of made the most of that, or what we're looking for here? Well, let's see what history shows us. Now, I'm just going to turn my session breaks on. Oh, no, I'll leave them off actually a little bit clearer. They're basically just the day dividers. Now, remember what we said. We highlighted our 2 key areas to hold. Now, don't be worried about price coming underneath this here, yeah? Remember, on a higher time frame, this was held. This is just a wick. That's why time frame is so very important for context, all right? So what you want to be looking for here is you want price to give you a reason to be bullish. If you're looking for this area to hold for longs, then quite simply what we were looking for here, and we'll look for again today, is for price to sweep a low, yeah, to be engaging with a low. We really want to kind of overlay this as well to see that price is delivering from a time frame aligned fair value gap, which it is. Bullish fair value gap. We're holding a bullish gap on the higher time frame, yeah? So now we're looking up. It might help you, by the way. Let me just switch this back to the 4-hour. Yeah, look, holding this gap. Look at this big downside wick here, yeah? That wick there is the bit that comes underneath price action on the lower time frame. We're not worried about that. That comes down into here, right? We're holding this on the higher time frame. Price dives down into this area, and look what we're doing. We've got this 15-minute gap here. So now what do we want to see? Well, we want to see from price that it's going to move higher, all right? So what have we got here? Here's our high. What have we done? We've set a low, we've set a high, yeah? Now, we're looking for the high that sweeps liquidity and then recovers. And what you want to see in that recovery move here is displacement. And what does displacement mean? We want to see momentum. We want to see strength. And, you really do want to see these gaps. All right. Now, I'm just going to get rid of that one for a minute. So we've not got too much on the chart. Ultimately, there's a number of different entry methods you can use. Once you've seen that transpire, you can dive into this on the lower time frame, right? So let's just highlight this for a section. I'll show you what I mean. And let's just do that in orange so it stands out. You dive onto the lower time frame, you've got your consolidation, you've got your pattern. Very, very difficult. Obviously, it's a spot contract, right? So it looks a little bit gappy on here. We would obviously be trading this, or I would be trading this on futures contract. But quite simply, you're looking for these breaks of structure, right? So what did we say on the last one? You want to see that inducement, right? You want to see price sweep a low. So where do we get the sweep of the low? Well, we get it here, yeah? Where's the high that swept the low? Same principle again. It's here. We see that strong move above it, yeah? So we can either be a buyer on this line. I used to have an entry method on this, which we call a breaker line. Very, very simple concept, right? As in, this is the line that you want to break, right? You want to break that with momentum. And when you do, you can quite simply enter on a retest of this line. So you pop your limit order on there. You place your stop loss under the swing low. No reason to revisit this area if we are now stepping in, to a buy program. And we had our targets, which at this point was the underside of the range. But as we said, ultimately, we know the targets realistically are a lot higher up, where we have the high time frame gap and then our high time frame swing level. So that would have been a really nice trade, right? Really nice entry there. Kind of, you're not always going to target these. That's a 19R trade. The other thing that you can do is trade the retests of the inefficiencies, the gaps that are left behind. All right. So there's the pump. Here's the fair value gap that was left behind. Place your limit order in there. When you get the close, when that gets confirmed, you're a buyer in here, your risk again is underneath that low, okay? So that is really, really simply what we're looking for. So to just go back over that again very quickly, for me, whilst we hold this 4-hour bullish gap here, yeah, then looking for this to come in and looking for it to move up. Andre, okay, please improve the sound. Apologies, mate, at this moment's not so good. Simon, can we confirm, guys, any other issues with the voice? Might just be a little technical hiccup. Want to make sure you can all hear me okay. If not, might be a problem with the feed that's getting out to you, Andre. Apologies if that is the case. If anyone could just let me know. Thank you, Simon, as well, obviously, for letting me know things are okay. Your end. Give me a little break to shut up for a second and drink some tea anyway. So I'll just quickly go over this while I'm just waiting for some confirmation on the sound check here as well. Can't see anything technical kind of our end, but please do let me know in the comments if there is any issues. So with this, really super simple, right? Holding this gap at the moment, looking for price to hold here and move up. What are the other catalysts that I'm considering today as well? The old issue we signaled to you and QBS. Okay, so is it that the voice isn't clear? Have we got some kind of echo, or is it maybe that there's still a delay, is there? No problem. Just make a quick note of that, guys. We'll do a tech check again. But we can still issue. Okay, awesome. Yeah, well, sorry if there are any technical issues today, guys. I'll go through just a little smidge slower so that hopefully we've got that. Yeah, again, sound okay. Mention the old issue, just some gaps. He's too far away from the mic. Okay, mate. So a couple of little technical issues coming in today. I've moved the mic a little bit closer, so hopefully that is better for everyone. But we will look into those. Apologies, we are using some new streaming software. So the idea being we needed to just improve the visuals from the last one. So we'll definitely take a look at that. But thank you for the feedback, guys. So quickly, what else am I looking at today? Well, I'm looking at the equity markets. All right. Ah, awesome. Maybe it was just that. So brilliant. Okay, no problem, mate. I'll keep that where it is. Looking at the equity markets today as well. So, our S&P 500, NASDAQ, for example, too. Look, we had this massive sell-off on the 11th of July. Massive drop last week. Price is recovering this nicely, but we do need to consider the fact that we are within a large bearish gap here. Okay. However, price has started to just get itself now into a bullish state of delivery because we have had a kind of micro structure break here from this, and price has kind of moved up into this here, and we've had a nice bullish reaction at this gap. While equity markets are strong, typically we're looking at it in terms of strength in the market towards risk assets, okay? And if we have strength in the market towards risk assets, then that's when we're looking at the market being in good and prosperous conditions for cryptocurrency, right? Which is like a beta risk asset, it would be called, I suppose. Now, while we've got prosperity in those markets, we also want to have a little look on the DXY, right? The dollar index. Weakness in the dollar is typically good for crypto. It's certainly good for risk assets like the NASDAQ and the S&P 500. Now, as we can see here with this range that we've got marked out, and these are the kind of key levels for me that I watch here. You can see how held below this level here, typically price struggles. We normally sell back off to the midline. We had this move above, again, before a flush below. Basically, it's more to look at the levels, all right? So this is where we want to be. Now, as the DXY is kind of coming into this area down here, especially kind of around 103.993 and then 103.898, then looking at this here, this is an area that we could look for support, all right? And obviously, if we get some support and price starts moving up here, right, then that's normally going to restrict the capital inflow to risk. That money's going to safer havens, right, going into bonds, going into yields, and the dollar obviously as well. So we want to just keep an eye on that, but again, we don't want to be too like it. The correlation slips in and out with these, but what it paints the picture for is the fact that we're in a good market for risk. And as we kind of run down the charts here, we can see, nothing major going off at the moment. You can see some of them starting 3 up. I think 5% is the kind of runner of the day. But again, Bitcoin is going to be kind of gobbling up that liquidity at the moment, right? Gobbling up that capital. What we want to see is we want to see Bitcoin get to this kind of nice space. And an area like this, for example, as price sits and starts to consolidate, and to align this with Mandatory's comment down there in terms of, are we going higher? Well, for me, my friend, I'm looking for this area here to tell me and give me an indication of what we're about to do. What I'd like to see today is price pull back into this fair value gap here, into this inefficiency, find some support. And then obviously on the lower time frames, we look for this typical pattern, which is a low to be swept, the high that sweeps the low to be closed above, and then obviously we can be buyers in and around here. So how is this going to affect the markets? Well, while Bitcoin kind of chills and kind of consolidates a little bit here, it can sometimes give the alts time to run. Now, I wouldn't necessarily be jumping into new altcoin positions here, right? I would want to see Bitcoin kind of sustain some strength. I think we could easily see a pullback here, bearing in mind that we're just kind of climbing back within the range here. Yeah, if this black line is our range low, look how significant it is. Sets the range low, support, deviation, climbs back above. What does it do? Find support again on the range low, which leads to this massive pump. Offers support here where we finally commit and close below, taking out that low. We can see prices hold off again. What we now want to see and confirm is, this is our range low deviation. Price is now back in the range here, and then we're looking to move higher. So in terms of looking at that, in respect to how we would look at it, say, for example, on Solana, which Mandatory kind of mentions here, well, let's take a little look, shall we? Let's take a little look at Sol and see where we are. What have we got? Or maybe we might have done our last analysis on the Bybit chart, actually. Or maybe Binance, but either way, let's just start with a nice clean chart and say to ourselves, okay, where would we be looking at on Solana? Well, Solana's kind of getting into a nice structure here, right? We've set a key low at the bottom here, generated some liquidity. Again, look, price just can't close below this here. So price is kind of coming down, finding support, clearing out the liquidity below there, and then moving higher. So what was the other key thing that we were looking at here? Well, we kind of had this gap down here. We've now got this upper fair value gap here, again, very similar to Bitcoin, which we would initially expect to offer resistance. Why? Because, well, look how good it was last time. resistance, 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 resistance. What's happened now? Price has closed above it. So just like we look at with Bitcoin, this becomes an inversion gap, yeah, which is an FVGI. I obviously standing for inversion. Let's make that a little bit less obtrusive. While we hold here, quite simply, we're targeting liquidity higher up, right? So my initial target for Sol here would be sort of 154.93 in terms of kind of managing that. Actually, let's start the 4 hour. In terms of managing that, we can see that this is basically like a carbon copy of Bitcoin at the moment, right? So this is the area I want to see hold for Solana. Is this bullish gap here? I think as long as price continues to kind of come and draw down into this area here, as long as we see this hold, I think then, you know, we're holding structure and we would then look for price to move up. I would probably, if I wasn't in a Solana position already, I'd be waiting for a kind of correction back down to a good buying position here, because you have this swing low sat over here that offers you a really, really good, you know, let's say, for example, we get a reaction there. That swing low offers you good risk to reward, and obviously you'd have up prices higher than that if you were swinging the trade, but on an intraday basis, obviously those percentages would work very well for you. So hold this, and I think we look for progression higher. Ultimately, on a daily scale, something I'm going to be really interested in is when this daily candle closes, and as long as this bullish gap is left as it currently is, then again, we might just see price kind of range here a little bit today, then dip into this kind of Tuesday. Tuesday could provide our low of week, and then we kind of make a move up higher. We've got lots of key liquidity targets: untapped high, untapped high, untapped high, untapped high, untapped high, etc. as we go up. So plenty to draw price higher, okay? So let's close off today by taking a little look at Ethereum as well, shall we? So if we pop onto our ETH chart over here, ETH has been a really nice, clean asset to trade. And again, we can see here on a daily scale, you know, not quite managing what, let's get rid of some of these, which will be lower time frame ranges, not quite managing what Bitcoin did, right? Which I found really interesting. So this hasn't been inverted yet. You know, as we saw on Solana, we just saw on BTC, price closed above this, showing us that we've kind of got that move higher, right? Now, what was interesting here on Solana was just how engaged it's been with the golden pocket down here, right? The 618 to 66 Fibonacci level taken from this high to this high. And even if you wanted to, you know, if you said, okay, well, that's a more clear and obvious one, no problem. I'd have no issues with you drawing it that way. As long as you get the expansion leg higher, you can take this as the consolidation or this. However, either way that you look at it, it is holding this level beautifully, all right? So now this is being used as the catalyst to move higher, all right? Taking liquidity below this low, price is starting to move up. So now on a daily scale, again, we really want to see that kind of close above here. This area will have some significance because, look, it was capping the market for several days. Resistance, resistance, resistance. Price then ultimately saw its big sell-off. So this kind of area here definitely has some kind of significance when we look at it. Obviously, actually, if you draw this across here as well, you can see this kind of area in general has provided a key pivot point here, offering lots of support here until it turned to resistance, and then it's not been broken since. So on an intraday basis, we want to be aware of this inefficiency laying over here, but again, that should be drawing price higher. Bit more difficult to kind of trade this with as much conviction today because we haven't inverted this. What I mean by that is that price could today close or come all the way back down and close in this area, leaving this as a long upside wick. If that's the case, this still remains a bearish gap. What we want to see is, like we saw on Bitcoin, price close above it, invert it, and then we expect this area to offer support, okay? So we're actually going to move down and get our context here on ETH a lot more on the 4 hour. And what we can see is why we didn't get the daily close above this level. Yes, we need to be aware of that. Still remains bearish and could still suck price in here. 4 hour close doesn't mean anything. When you're on a daily scale, you need to see that daily close. But once again, and you know, it's the same across most assets today, or most crypto assets, is that we're just looking for this area to hold. As long as this holds, then I'm really kind of favoring upside here with the draw being higher. Something that is of interest here, right, is that we can see our prices drawing this back down here. You know, we've got New York midnight opening price here, which typically we want to see price below if we want to look for long setups. So things are looking quite positive at the moment. If price really is looking to take off here, then quite simply I'm going to overlay the same techniques I was just discussing, but onto a 15-minute chart. This is a bearish gap, right? As long as price clears out liquidity below a low, as we've seen it do here, I would much prefer it to take out this low. Have we done that? Oh, no, we've actually left equal lows below. So this paints a really, really attractive picture for me here, right? So equal lows set by that low and that low there. They're key liquidity pools. What I would love to see here to get long on this asset is for price to purge this, maybe even down to this low as well, because that's another key low, because it's a low sat within a fair value gap, as we can see here, right? Making that a key liquidity target. So maybe see a purge down into this, a recovery of this level here, an inversion of this, and then I would be very, very confident the price is going to start making its way at least to these highs. But then obviously, as we've highlighted, we have key targets above. This is going to be a big draw on liquidity up here. So on a 15-minute scale, if we can get a close above this, invert this, you know, in any way, shape or form, I'm going to be an interested longing party there on an intraday basis. But ultimately, these equal lows below are really making me think the price is going to come down to take this out first. A sweep of these and a recovery above, or a sweep of this as well and a recovery above this. And then I'm a super, super interested buyer here on ETH. If not, and we continue to show weakness, as long as we continue to grind down, again, we want to refer to our higher time frame. Don't get too caught up in the panic of the lower time frames. Remember, the price can quite easily correct down even towards this lower one, all right? Which would be really, really interesting. Foley Durant, Frank is climbing higher with massive sales and increasing bulb. It's a golden opportunity to invest now and watch your portfolio grow. Sounds a bit scammy to me, Foley. I can't help it, mate, but I see these things come up all the time. Yeah, look, do your own research, guys. More than happy to check out on the tickers, but definitely don't buy something because some random dude tells you to do it in the comments, all right? And don't buy something because I tell you to do it. I'll never tell you what to do. Do your own research, find out your own ways to analyze these markets and make your investments smartly. Not to say that Frank might not be a good investment, but just make sure that if you are going to consider these things, remember, nothing is ever a guarantee in this market. Please do your own research, all right, guys? So one thing I just want to finish us up with here is just looking at the news that we have ahead this week. Now, again, you don't want to let this kind of cloud your judgment too much, but it is a key factor to take into consideration, how the markets are going to be affected. So hopefully you guys can see that all clearly. I will just give it a minute in case there is kind of still that latency issue or that gapping issue we were talking about. And then if Gio knows what it is as well, I've just seen that in the comments, which makes me feel super confident that he's got a fix in play for us. So hopefully everybody's on the news now as well. So looking at this, what have we got today? You know, American markets, they're the ones I'm the most interested in, right? Because those updates, the biggest market in the world, provides the most liquidity and moves the markets most, and is what I'm most interested in because I typically trade the New York AM session and sometimes the PM session as well. The key thing today is that 5 p.m. my time, which is 4 p.m. UTC, in about 3.5 hours from now, Fed Chair Powell speaks again. So at the moment, he's speaking to Congress, basically validating and justifying the decisions that the Federal Reserve have made on their monetary policy, mostly related to rate cuts and interest, and obviously trying to curb inflation. Now, off the back of that, those things can move the markets immeasurably, right? So be careful with that. Tomorrow, we have core retail sales, okay, and then we have retail sales month on month as well. On Wednesday, we move into, I think, unless you're Forex trading, which I know a lot of people aren't on here, so I won't kind of cover that. If you are, you need to be aware of all of these different news, obviously affecting the different markets, depending on what currency pair you are trading. Thursday is the really interesting one that we have here as well, unemployment claims. We've seen that have a really big impact on the market recently. So do be aware of those, because if you are holding positions and you come into these, look at the time that the news drops. I'm not saying to panic into them right. Often you see these big moves that sweep liquidity both sides of the market before the market settles. But please do be aware of them, because, you know, the moves can be big. They can be very, very volatile and violent, and they really do, you know, really can kind of affect crypto as well. All right, guys. So look, thank you so much for joining me today on my show. It's been a pleasure to have you all here. About 2,600 people live with us today. And, you know, we'll get a lot more watching that later as well. So that really is wonderful. Andre, yeah, very good question, mate. I'm using 4X Factory, right? Let me just write this down in here. It's completely free. You can also use baby pips as well, which is really good. But I like 4X Factory. What you want to do is filter it by red folder news, all right, and then get a good weekly overview like this. and then you'll see all the key events that are coming up that can really impact traditional markets. And then when that market impact is felt, it often kind of affects crypto because, you know, major institutions and their investments, portfolios and positions as well. So do keep an eye on that. You're very welcome, Andre. I hope the sound was better at the end. Let's go and take a look at these technical issues with our team. And for all you other legends, I will see you again on Wednesday at 1100 UTC. And for all of those that are over with us at the Berg Nest, I will see you this afternoon and look forward to our live trading sessions tomorrow. Please, if you are interested in anything we do over at TBN, you can join us as a member starting from free, and you can go in on that. And also, you know, you can find any offers and bits and pieces to exchanges that we have in the descriptions as well. Some really, really good offers with all of our partners from Binance, FMX, Bybit, etc. All right, guys. And Andre, be absolutely more than happy to cover Floki, one of our awesome partners over at TBN. We've been partnered with them for a long time now and watched their amazing growth through memes utility, and, you know, continue to work very closely with that team today. Very, very impressive team. All right, guys. I look forward to catching you all again on Wednesday. Have a fantastic week ahead, and I look forward to seeing you all around the nest.